I'm honored to get to stay up here. Thanks to everyone who was here for the conversation earlier. We're going to hear from these poets. Our first poet, which is Shirin Ramzanali Fazel. And Shirin is an Italian writer of Somali and Pakistani origins. She's the author of Lontano da Mogadishu, and that book is considered a milestone of Italian postcolonial literature, as it describes her experience of migration to Italy and the effects of Italian colonialism in her native country. Her second novel, Nuvole su Equatore, deals with the question of meticciato and race discrimination as a crude legacy of the Italian colonial government. She self-translated and rewrote her work into English, with Far from Mogadishu and Clouds Over the Equator being the titles in English. Her collection of poetry, Wings, is about people uprooted and dispossessed. She's currently working on translating her poems into Italian, and I think we're going to hear some of her poems and a few excerpts from the book Far from Mogadishu tonight.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to thank you all and say good evening. And I would like to thank also the organizers of this evening. And I'm really glad to be here, especially with the young generation. I don't have a lot of occasion to meet them because whenever we Somalis meet, it is a funeral or it is a wedding. So alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, we are meeting in a beautiful place, really. So, and hambalyo to khayd, inshallah, great success. I selected this piece especially for the young generation. I will take you back a few decades. Cape Guardafui. At the time of the Italian Empire, ships departed from Italy, full of men in search of adventure. Their destination, the Horn of Africa. The journey is long, the climate hot and sticky, but they are full of enthusiasm. Young men looking forward to explore vast jungles and conquer dark girls with big, wild eyes. Soon after crossing the Suez Canal, they see the Egyptian desert. The vessel enters Red Sea and the air gets torrid. A few days, they reach Capo Guardafui on the extreme tip of the Horn. Men are getting ready for their new life. The laborer becomes an engineer, the bricklayer becomes an architect, and the nurse becomes a doctor. The memory of the victims buried in the village is still alive in the elderly. The little cemetery was named after the white doctor who took care of them. Professions are changed, but not the language. The environment is changed, but not the mentality of this man. Time is passing without evolution. Small oases are created to preserve habits of a distant homeland. It is in this microcosm that someone like me, who had never seen Italy, would feel it close. The streets, school, churches, barracks, monuments, shops, cinemas, restaurants, bars, hotels had names like Bar Impero, Bar Nazionale, La Croce del Sud, La Mediterranea, La Pergola, El Trocadero, Tre Fontane, Cappuccetto Nero, Via Roma, Corso Italia, Caserma Podgora, Cinema Centrale, Cappuccetto Nero, Scuola Regina Elena, Ospedale De Martino, Chiesa del Sacro Cuore. This little Italy that surrounded me made my city an Italian provincial town. In the Mogadishu of my childhood, white is the predominant color. Safari bus jackets, trousers, our school uniforms, hats, and the nuns' long dresses. I was brought up in this world. I studied Italian at school, from the nursery rhymes to the poems of Pascoli. In spite of my knowledge of the Italian language and culture, I could feel the annoying superiority shown by the Italian residents. It was like living in a parallel dimension where two realities would live together without integrating. Independence brought a little change. Radio Mogadishu still broadcasts news, songs, and daily programs from Italy. The national newspaper, Il Corriere della Somalia, was printed in Italian, as Italian was the country's official language. Milan, Inter, and Juventus football teams had their fans, but the oasis created by the Italian Empire shrank visibly. La Casa d'Italia remains its last fortress, packed with people nostalgic of the fascist era, always ready to criticize everything and everyone, but always with an excuse not to leave the country. They did not want to leave Somalia, where time was marked by a human rhythm and houses were spacious with lush gardens of bougainvillea, oleander, and papaya trees. They did not want to leave houses in which many obliging servants were always present, and stories about safari games full of emotions were told around a fireplace in the savannah, while the boys fixed the tents for bedtime. The long African nights, draped in mosquito nets, lulled by hyenas' laughter and lions' breath under a full moon. The magic will flow in their veins and possess their minds. It is Mal d'Africa. Young metropolitans. In the shop in front of the American embassy was the only one to have the latest records during my teenage years. My girlfriend and I were grooving proudly to the rhythm of James Brown. Say it loud, I'm black and proud. Wilson Pickett would squeeze every drop of our sweat while dancing funky Broadway, and Aretha Franklin blues blew our mind. Parties were given to welcome young graduates coming back from Western countries. We would share their new ideas and meld them with our dreams. We shared a common enthusiasm for our sincere ideals. We would learn the latest fashion dance steps from the United States and UK. The Bennett book La Settimana Nera by Enrico Emanuelli was photocopied and circulated in our underground circle. At the Terzo Mondo bookstore, we discovered Leopold Senghor's poems, and we gained awareness of our African heritage. It was the only bookstore where it was possible to find essays and publication of the Pan-Africanism, a growing political movement theorized by Kwame Nkrumah. Afternoons were dedicated to learn English at the British Council and American Embassy. French, German, and Russian courses were also available at the cultural centers. Films in original languages were shown, followed by interesting debates. President Gamal Abdel Nasser sent hundreds of teachers to Mogadishu for us to learn Arabic. The Somali National Theatre was full of people enjoying the biting satire of our changing society. The theater used to host artists from different countries. My eyes were glued to the stage, watching the costume and dances of various ethnic groups from the Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China. Somali doctors were graduating from China, and at the hospital, acupuncture was the trend. Eating out was fun. We used Chinese chopsticks, and we discovered the taste of soy sauce. The whole world was coming to us through newspapers, magazines, and protest songs of Bob Dylan and Joan Baez. We had no television in the country, but I had not missed it. Every evening, I used to go to the cinema with my dad and enjoy our evenings under the stars. If I think of those days and compare it with the current times, I know we were extremely fortunate. I took you quite back. Thank you. Women on a catwalk. Faded picture hidden in my memories, like black and white photos. Hoyo wearing an off-the-shoulder guntino, handmade cotton alindi, wrapped around her waist. her slim bare arms holding me, her hair bundled in a bright red sash, her familiar smell of aromatic unsi and sweat soothing my whims. She tells me this Guntino carries a long history. When a woman was free and protected, a nomad woman nourishing her children, looking after her goats and sheep, building her own akal, a strong, hard-working woman, carrying water, harvesting crops, pounding maize for preparing sor, simple, fulfilling comfort food. Anagel Somal, camel milk, known for centuries, rich in vitamins, protein, and healing properties. I treasure my trunk filled with memorabilia, old pictures, postcards of bellissime brown girls wearing guntino and amba necklaces, advertising sweet bunches of bananas from Somalia for the Italian market. When I was a child, women wore guntino, walking on busy streets, draped in light rainbow cotton. They stroll on Lido Beach, gentle waves slapping their feet. In my teenage years, a western wind blows. I see sleeveless frocks and bell-bottom jeans. Soon forgotten, there is no beauty and national pride. The diaphanous dira became the popular one. One size fits all. Loose and transparent emphasizes femininity. Mix and match with gorgorat, made of silk embroidered in gold. Mix and match with pink and orange garbasar, that veil bosom and the coolest hair trends. I walk the streets of London and Cape Town, cities oppressed by fashion billboards. I meet women wearing black and brown jilbab. They are covered from head to toe, not tempted by designer clothes, except for their Clarks and Nike trainers. I can spot them from afar. They are not invisible. Their presence is real. They mingle, they shop, they walk the streets, they travel, they vote, they trade, they integrate. They do not assimilate. They want to make a statement. They do not want to fade away, to blend, to compromise. They want to protect scattered families, culture, tradition, language, faith, identity. Under the jilbab, they conceal their beauty, smooth skin, perfumed with jasmine and red rose. Fragrant bukhur, they wear guntino and dira. They play with colors, pink, orange, red, hurud, bulug, bright jewelry, and bold hairstyles. This is the last piece. Afka hoyo, the sound I carry in my memories. I live in this bubble of voices. The sweet, warm milk suckled from Hoyo's generous breast, my falling into sleep covered in a blanket of words. My first steps, I wobble, I fall, salty tears plowing down my face. I look at the blue sky. I stutter, I struggle, a funny sound. Hoyo laughs, she giggles. She makes me repeat the same word again and again. Her eyes flicker like the first stars that peep in the inky night. The sound of this language has memories built brick by brick. It can move my deepest emotions, the hidden ones, like pearls buried at the bottom of the sea. This language is not always mellow, pure, soft, musical, kind. This same language can hurt, curse, wound my heart, and leave invisible scars. These guttural, harsh sounds can heal my soul. I carry these notes like a timeless instrument. I'm the howling sound of the arid desert wind, the pungent scent of the bush, the early raindrops of gu and dare. I'm the music of camel bells marching toward abundance. I'm the cracking sound of charcoal burning Luban. I'm the frail sobbing of a mourning tribe, of a child crying for help. I'm the ruthless echo of uninvited bullets, of hatred and destruction. I'm the bitter soul whispering for prayers. I struggle when I have to read this language I love most, written in an alphabet adopted from a foreign land, signs not strong enough to lift my heavy tongue. I feel like a ballerina dancing on a broken toe. I abandon this newspaper. I refuse to read these words. Bur'ad baded, burbur bahi, argagihiso ado. Pirates, destruction, poverty, terrorism, enemy. Dagal, dimasho, dig, war, that, blood. I treasure the language of poets, Hoyo's lullabies, jokes and proverbs, blessings and goodness. Barako Iyowana.
Thank you so much, Shirin. That was wonderful. Next, we're going to have Hamdi Khalif. And Hamdi is a poet and a writer who's now working on a collection of poems around the experiences of Black Muslim women. Hamdi was a member of Bards Without Borders and read her work at several venues, including the Southbank Centre, the British Museum, and Rich Mix London. Thank you so much, Hamdi.
Hello everyone, my name is Hamdi Khalif, and I'll be reading a few poems for you today from a collection that I'm working on. I haven't shared this collection yet, so you're sort of like my biggest audience outside of like 4 people. There's only one poem which may be familiar, which appeared on BuzzFeed, but the others will be something I haven't shared before. Just to give you a background on the collection, so it's a collection about what's your name? As Sarah said, about Black Muslim women, and it just sort of goes through the different struggles that we face, not only as being women, but also being Black, being Muslim. The first poem I'll read for you doesn't have a title. In fact, none of my poems have titles, which is really strange for me because I love naming things. I name my plants, for example. I've got all 18, all have a name. But for some reason, I decided for this collection to not name any of my poems. The first poem is about memories I have of Mogadishu, because I was there up to the age of sort of 5.5, as well as some of my mother's memories. And I know Mogadishu has suffered quite a lot in the last sort of couple of weeks. So first of all, and so yeah, it's just sort of about sort of memories of Mogadishu. She ran up and down her front porch at least a dozen times a day, her tiny ankles defiant against the sun, her backdrop melting cotton and blushing bougainvillea. Sky so clear you could see into heaven. These were the good days, her mother says, when little girls wore white dresses and women weren't afraid to bare their shoulders. When markets were meeting points and street vendors sold freely. The good days, her mother says, when home wasn't a house burning and our hearts weren't bottomless. The good days, she says, palms cupped and raised to the sky, grey and godless. This next poem is about I suppose, falling in love with someone who has many issues, and greater than your own issues, but they're not able to admit that, and you're not really able to help them because they don't want to help themselves. It's not her place to tell you to heal, to place all 10 fingers, toes, knees, forehead on a prayer mat facing east. Prostrate, pray. It's not her place to tell you to grind black seeds under your molars, swallow it with honey, pure, prophetic. It's not her place to tell you to remove the bandage from your heart. Let it breathe, bleed, into her cup palms if needed. It's not her place to tell you to cry, to let the warm salt run like a river and find its way to the cool sea. To her. It's not her place to tell you she will not leave, that she'll wait until you'll fall and be the ground beneath. She'll catch every red and yellow and wear them in her crown as ruby and gold. Thank you. This next poem is a very short poem, and it's about, so now you had one person with issues, now it's two people with issues trying to have a relationship. And often we do that, and we end up bringing a lot of baggage and a lot of trauma into a relationship, and it doesn't work. Your mother's bosoms are not pegs on her chest. There's no milk for you here. She can't feed you, or heal you, or be your mother no more than you can be her father. Don't make the mistake of burying the trauma in your backyards and making graves of your love. Thank you. This next poem is about sort of the entitlement men have. So it's based on a true life experience of someone's drink being spiked and of the entitlement many men feel towards women's bodies and women's lives, and feeling they can just take advantage and just take what they want. Dear stranger with the dark skin dazzling like the night, smelling of bubble gum and feeling silky smooth. Hold her while she shivers, and the milk of her mother leaks from her bones. Cradle her like an abandoned baby, banished from the village, spat out by its tribe. She drank too much, throwing back vodka and cranberry concoctions. She now has a concussion. You didn't drink at all. Said you were driving. She's sick. Vomits half a dozen times over your car, window down, head hanging halfway between asleep and awake. Dead and alive. Forgive her. You say you're ashamed. What have you done? Should she forgive you? Slow down. She doesn't know where she's going. The darkness overtakes her, steals her soul like the angel of death. She begs you to return her to her friends. The buzzing club will soothe her like a lullaby. You keep driving. You scare her. She's now pleading for your mercy. Please don't hurt me. The drug is making her dizzy. She tries to run, but her body refuses to obey. Perhaps she should forgive herself, because she doesn't know how this will end. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamdi. And our final poet tonight, before we get to rock out with Dur Band, is Elmi Ali. And Elmi is a writer of poetry, short fiction, and drama. Ali has performed across the country, and his work has appeared in Poetry Review and Scarf magazine, of which he is an associate editor. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you guys? You well? I've traveled a long way to be here today. There was a fatality on the line, and then there was a ripple, and then it meant that I just walked in off the ripple. So I'm going to read you a few poems, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So I'll read you a poem about light. So imagine a shaft of light going through a window. And this is a prologue in light. So light shines through blight. Fight, flight, focus. It clarifies if you keep it tight. Articulate your gripes, gauge the height before the bite. Know your likes, only ripe pickings make right windows, make way for light. Make a simple task of a tall order. And most orders is twinkle tall. I'm into looking up is all, likely to aim high and claim no shadows like brilliant noontime beams don't call to light. They just stand straight, steady, they don't stall, ready to catch the dawn like early bird and last to watch dusk broadcast long shadows of old day overdrawn over orange sky, tinged red, and we wince. Contracting to read the world through a rosy monocle called empirical science. Trying to catch the sprawl, catch it all, watch it past the dust settling, soft lighting for the setting, left to right and dead quiet looking, like I'm looking when I'm looking. Likely enlightened, likely seasoned, not bleached, heightened, not beached, never top heavy. Hey, like take it lightly, like sunrise. What morning beams do to early dew is like seeing to a flu. Briskly back to bright and sprightly, and a cure for you. Thank you. So I'm going to do this little game. I'll read from my head, and then I'll read from my phone, because none of them can fit in one place. So this poem I'm going to read is called Going Home, and it's about still going home, even if there was a bomb in Mogadishu, right? So just go home, it's cool. We'll make it better. So, going home. I am crawling back out from my burrow of books resting on their spines. All the papers I've read are about us. I have taken in each word like a drowning man reaches out for phantom firm ground, made sense as a thirsty eye makes a mirage in the parched margin of the mind. I walk back from the library through the winding back alleys of an old city you will never see. My nose is chafing against the current. I am swimming back upstream, carrying everything inside me. I hear your voice wash over me, older than the first cobbles to replace the dirt. I hear the dunes of crumbling dirt far beneath what is paved and proper. Each speck speaks, kin to a film of dust after years on paper now settled on my coat sleeves, kin to the coat too, kin to my hand busy with life beating a cloud out of woven wool, kin to all things that aware of being soiled aspire to be clean, kin to knowledge, the inevitable, kin to a humble speck evicted to dizzying heights at the mercy of the wind, kin to all the humility that hangs a heavy cloud loosely above our heads, kin to dreams, a floating flood, mercy seeded one by one into a raised resting place, a spectacle of insignificant specks, an embrace for all the orphans dislodged from their dirty beginnings, their sharp edges now realized in a drop, harbored by heaven, reaching down, eager to quench the thirst that first raised it to conquer the air. Thank you. Just on the subject of going home, read a poem for my mother. This one is called Table Manners. For my mother. She walks in on me every now and again, catches me confused and thirsty, trying to gulp down the whole world. And she, calm and composed, always impressed at her son's tremendous feat, tells me, Tertib, hai stilin. Slow down, don't kill yourself. But the heedless are hard of hearing, under siege, trying not to leave anything behind, chewing through a mouth full of hardship, chasing serenity with fingers aiming straight for the bottom of the jar. She knows she is almost always talking to herself. I hungrily wax off a plate of plenty before my eyes, a plate of plenty before my eyes. I have no ears for old words, for what she always calls to, for what not, for what words to unknot, what kink, for what will definitely aid the colic. She, wise eyes, sees the cramps coming on. She tries to read me back into the length of her arms. She knows the spots, where to be coaxed, under what shoulder blades lay what burps, what relief to be revealed, what remedies passed down. She has done it many times. I think I have outgrown her, bloated as I am, full of the whole world, writhing with pain and roaring with pleasure, fevering with the injustice of entitlement. She is long-sighted and watches from a distance as I stretch and squat and gag on regurgitated thoughts, as I measure myself against the worlds I consume and swallow whole. She never once has asked why I'm hungry. She never once has failed to remind me to slow down, to experience, to savor, to chew. Thank you. Right, what would you like to hear? Ares Isa, all right. Always Ares Isa. We'll finish with Ares Isa. How long have I got? Time? 5 minutes? Cool. We'll finish with Ares Isa. Do you want to hear, what are the choices? Do you want to hear a poem? I always say animals, or a dictator, or, a dictator? Dictator? Animals. Dictator. Close, isn't it? Close comparison. Right, okay. Dictator. Yeah, with all due respect to the animal, yeah. They don't dictate. They never dictate. So I told the dictator, I'm playing pro. 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 Me fierce on the rebound. I'm unbound. I double dutch to the future. Suture sparks into steeds. I'm hungry for deeds. Limbo in the loop while fiends do the weeding. Medusa's in feeding, and Mau Mau is breeding. Bring a match, bring a machete. Let's mosh pit these rebels. No bass, no treble, just a slight, light bite to the devil. Pitchfork tongues ruin all the fun. World is for the rich. Bible was had me in stitches, laughing off a fit. Swallow whole songs at your beat on the tablet. Break a hot hell like a billboard prophet, hung by the nose, striking a pose we strive to oppose. Infinite, infinite, infinite foes. So I told the dictator, subliminal virtuosity makes all things porous, and I slipped through mental locks unbridled to meet you in arranged matrimony at the altar of your psyche. Then you find your very self humming to my tunes. Then you find your very self humming to my tunes. Then you find your very self humming to my tunes. You've grown to love me. You say I'm crazy. Call me a loon, but I'm catchy. Iambic is my pentameter, so I come again, repeat myself so you can catch me. You got me? Incarcerate me now. And it's time to flip verse. See, I've been kicked and I've been pushed, so I reverse. Watch the walls closing in. Pick up a beat, pick up a beat, pick up a beat, and serve my sentences, sentences, sentences through bars. And so I told the dictator, diabetic strongmen with peptic ulcers and gout who bark childish orders as snot-nosed rebel soldiers, I told them it had to halt, so they dropped their guns, lit bonfires to burn effigies of hate and violence that declared them criminal. And so I told the dictator, naturally, all I want to do is neo-colonize your native mind. Take you back and weed those foreign thoughts that have made the now scarce fruits of your rich soils cursed. Watch your climates climax in their fair subsistence with the insistence that you feed your people's hunger for thought. And so I told the dictator, call me a traitor, send my brainwashed kin to spill my life, then sing me martyr. For I am high treason, but you can't quell our grassroots dissidents. Shoot the messenger, but deliverance has come. So when you come, oppression on your Barrett, semi-automatic on your right, balancing your pot belly, I shall cower, but my feet will hold, and my fists will fold before I surprise you, gesticulating incessant obscenities in your direction to remind you of your current state of fodder. Pass through the intestinal tracts of male bovines, you sit there with strong man, with yes man, the flies circle a musky mound of bullshit. Thank you. Ares Isa Katshe. You know the drill? Do I need to teach you? Yes. Eh? Really? Okay. Oh, I might be in the wrong building. Okay, Ares Isa Katshe. هديك لو حلها معك هرسة. Runta, exactly. So we begin with Runta. After that, هديك لو حلها ha hey. So you only say Runta iyo ha hey. Fantastic. So it goes like this. Are you ready? Mighty measures wake up to treasures of many moons, then gone too soon. That vacant room or gloom and doom. This musing marks my moving map. هديك لو حلها. Because believing stopped me from leaving, gave me the reasons I live with seasons. Orion's belt held up my tent. This musing marks my moving map. No, a nomad, it's not absurd to know is heard. What you have heard is heresy. Heroes roam these plains you see. This musing marks my moving map. Hadik ala wahan laha. Thank you very much.